Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And ban
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom.
Yup.
Well, we're here, and I'm bringing up my notes. You know what? You know what this podcast is.
Yeah, we'll tease you a little bit.
We sit down, we read the headlines, we talk about the headlines. Maybe, sometimes. This time we will.
And we give you our take. And why does our take matter?
Because it's us.
Well, you're listening to it, so here you are.
Yeah.
Today we are covering the greatly anticipated Joker film. But before we do that, of
that's
course,
the
we
other
have
part.
a lot of that is our entree. We're going to tease you a little bit with a little bit of appetizers. We got some news stuff for you and our
also,
spins about that.
We're going to do this trailer breakdown.
Yes, of
Or not
course.
breakdown, just reaction to it.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a trailer break.
Yeah. So, Birds of Prey, you did not like it. I love it.
Well,
So this will make for an interesting conversation.
I didn't like the trailer.
Yeah.
I like what the movie's going towards, but to me, I'm just like, hey, I thought this was a Birds of Prey movie, not just Harley Quinn.
I mean,
That's my issue
It
with
is
it.
Birds of Prey, but also the much longer title is "And the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn."
I understand.
That is the full.
But to
thing.
me, it's just like, so it's Harley Quinn and her side, like her crew. So it's like Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. I'm just like, just call it Harley Quinn
Well,
and
no.
then with the Birds of Prey or something.
the trailer is saying we have to work together because Harley Quinn's not a bird of prey; she's a villain, and Birds of Prey are the good guys. So this is a movie
that's fair.
about this villain having to work together with the good guys, which is pretty much in the trailer.
Sure.
Yes, you don't really learn about those people, but
Yep. Bothered me.
I feel like that's a weird complaint when people also complain like the trailers just give away too much. Why not just lean into the character everyone already knows and then have everything else be a nice surprise?
So I understand what you're saying. There's a fine balance between giving away a lot, teasing the plot line, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. This does give away a lot. It gives us a lot of vital information very, very quickly and all that kind of stuff. My thought process here is just I would like this to be a more evenly balanced one. The whole narrative behind this trailer is 100% Harley Quinn. The things
Yeah.
I did like about it were Ewan McGregor as Black Mask looks like he's having a lot of fun.
Sure.
And that to
he's
me,
certainly asking if people are having fun. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, in the role itself and all, not just the dialogue and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like he's having a good time. There was a bit of confusion of whose voice I hear every now and then because I'm like, was that the Joker's voice?
No.
Or was that like Black Mask going into a different voice?
It's always Black Mask.
It's always
or
Black
maybe
Mask.
maybe Zaz, but always Black
Okay,
Mask.
fair enough.
I don't. From what I've heard, Joker will be like Superman and Shazam. Like
Cool.
so.
So we see him from behind or something
Yeah,
like that.
nah, it's not gonna be like him. Or maybe they'll get their shit together and Jared Leto will film something. I don't know.
We'll see.
Either way, I don't know.
Or they
that-
cut enough footage from Suicide Squad
Yeah.
to use from
So,
flashback sequences. Right?
I think the action looks cool, so that's fun.
Yeah.
I like that moment when she's like, "I'm the one you should be afraid of," and she does the boo thing, and it's like that weird
Yep.
camera work on her head.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that people want to know more about Birds of Prey, but I don't know. I think that
Don't get me wrong. They're definitely taking the thing that worked best out of Suicide Squad, which is Harley Quinn,
yeah.
and putting it front and center where everyone wanted more Harley Quinn, and this is exactly what you're going to get. But for me, I'm just really hoping there's a rebalance of the focus of the trailer the next time around. And to be clear, I'm excited for the movie because
Yeah.
it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like DC's starting to pull themselves together and all that kind of stuff with this kind of way of storytelling that they're like, no, we're not doing the interconnected anymore. We're just going to focus on one individual movie. So I really want to see what that looks like from a movie that was very, very much team up and all that kind of stuff to spinning off this way to a
Yeah.
separate kind of team up. So I'm really looking forward to that. But to me, I'm just like, would have liked a little bit more balance in that trailer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
The trailer I didn't like, but I'm looking forward to the movie,
Yeah.
if that's fair.
That's fair. I just think it's a well done trailer, and I find it weird when people are like, I want to know more about those other characters, because that's exactly what leads to people being like, that's too much. I know too much now.
Right. And I get what you're saying. Everything you're saying is objectively, I get it. I get it. It's just, I would have liked a little bit more
Yeah,
balance.
no, you're not
That's
alone.
all.
I feel like I'm the only one that is like, I like that.
Well,
they're
your
not-
pushback on it is very valid. You bring up a lot of good points. It's just, I still want to know a little bit more about everyone else. That's it.
Wikipedia, baby.
Yep.
We also forgot to talk about the Suicide Squad cast last episode.
We did. So you got your list.
Yeah. So David Dastmalchian, who is
Polka Dot Man, right?
yeah. Well, that I don't want to really get into because that seems that's like all fake stuff.
That is conjecture.
Although most people who are reporting are saying he's Polka Dot Man,
Yeah.
so whatever. But yes, David Dastmalchian, he's also an Ant-Man. He's part of the crew.
Yep.
He says Baba Yaga in particular in Ant-Man. And
Yes.
he's in Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And John Cena. That's cool. Jai Courtney.
I hope we can see him.
No one will be able to see him in that movie. Jai Courtney's back. Joaquin Cosio, don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm sorry. Nathan Fillion, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Joel Kinnaman is back.
Yeah.
Mei Ling NG, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Ning? All right, I'll let you go. That's cool. Flula Borg, I do know who that is. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yep.
I only know him from Pitch Perfect 2. He's like part of the German team that
Cool.
like is really good,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought should have won, but you know, what are you gonna do? Sean Gunn, everyone knows who that is. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Craiglin.
Storm Reed, that's cool.
Yep.
She's from A Wrinkle in Time, which isn't good, but she's good.
Yeah.
And she's in Euphoria, which is great.
That's good.
Pete Davidson, it's seeming like that's more than just a cameo if he's getting his name there. I know that everyone can die, and that's kind of what I'm getting at by reading all of these names out, because I like that it's a much bigger cast this time.
Yeah.
Because
it's
it means
huge.
they can actually do
The disposable
like
stuff.
they can do
Yeah.
Taika Waititi, Alice Braga, who is in that movie that may never come out, the New Mutants movie.
I saw it advertised, actually. I saw a poster up for it last night when I watched Joker. I thought that was
Awesome.
hilarious.
Awesome.
Because they didn't change the release date at all. It was
for
still
them.
released for 2018. I'm just like, who screwed up here? This is hilarious.
Steve Agee,
Yep.
I feel like everyone is pretty sure he's King Shark, so that's
Sure.
cool. I mean, I'm assuming that's just a voice then, but who knows?
Maybe
Peter Capaldi, that's a Doctor Who person, right? And he's on things like In the Loop.
Sure.
Someone said, I know he won't be, but when someone was like, he could be Mr. Freeze, I'd be like, oh, that would be cool. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Because he said something like, oh, like my character's bald. And I was like, cool. Like when someone said, but I know he won't be. Like, I think he'll just be some person I've never heard of before.
Right.
Viola Davis is back. We said that was cool. Idris Elba. I will say this. I think people keep saying Bronze Tiger. I have heard that he'll be Vigilante. So if you've seen Arrow, it's that guy. Vigilante. Cool. Margot Robbie, obviously, and Michael Rooker. So that's a lot of people, and I'm happy that it's bigger this time
Yeah.
because
It
you
seems
can
like
kill
he's
people.
brought a lot of the Guardians, or
Well,
as
yeah,
much
that's-
as possible, like from. A
He
support
works with
character.
the people he like, because David Dastmalchian was supposed to be in Guardians
Yep.
too as well. So like,
And yeah, Michael Rooker, I think like James Gunn really likes to work with him too.
well, yeah, it's Yondu, so
Yeah.
that's yeah.
And then his brother, it's just like, hey, buddy, let's give your acting career a boost. I like it.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Suicide Squad. We touched on it. I'm excited about all the people in it because
You mean the Suicide Squad?
yeah, that's what I mean. Would have killed them to put Suicide Squad 2.
Like this is the thing. I hate why they have to keep explaining about this. It's like, oh, it's not a reboot anymore. It's a soft reboot. I'm like, it doesn't matter. The Suicide Squad was always going to be a rotating cast, anyways. That's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, if they're
So-
saying it's a soft reboot, fine. But I feel like the fact that
They
switched
called it a
out
reboot or
Idris
something.
Elba,
Yeah.
like they made him not Deadshot. I'm like, it's definitely just a sequel then, because that
Yeah.
to me reads as like, hopefully Will Smith will come back.
Yep. That's what it says to me too.
All right, great. Let's talk about. Do we want to talk about Spider-Man's back? That's cool.
Yeah, that is
2
so
movies.
cool. We are all happy. Now, to be clear, Tom Holland apparently is the one responsible for this. We don't know
I mean,
what
he
he
helped
actually
along.
did.
Yeah, we just hear that he kept talking to both Bob Iger and
Yeah.
whoever the guy at Sony is.
So, he was successfully a kid that got his parents to get back together. That was really nice. of them. And so we got to thank Tom Holland. And that, to me, does cement the fact that he is the world's best Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm glad we
Because
can
he just
finally
has
agree
that
on that.
passion. Yeah. Oh, we agreed on it a long time ago. But it's
He's
just
the
like,
best.
this is so much better, even like outside the world and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. He is back for one solo standalone, so we're going to see a trilogy cap, and then he is also back for a team up. That has not been disclosed yet.
No.
So what we do know is that in 2021, that's going to be a busy year for everyone. That's a Marvel
What's that,
fan,
5?
because that is 4 feature films.
I think there was 4 already. This will be the 5th.
4? There was 4 already, really?
I think so.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting. But either way, it's being slot into the July time slot.
Yes.
And from the latest rumors, I heard that John Watts, who did Homecoming and Far From Home, is in final negotiations to cap off 3. Now,
Yeah,
I
I
can't
got my
imagine
fingers
him
crossed
saying
on that.
no, except for scheduling issues or budgetary issues. But at this point in time, I think Marvel's going to try to get, and Disney, and so Marvel and Sony are going to throw anything at him to get him back. Because I think he's got
Well,
a good
let's hope
grasp on
so.
it.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There seemed to be like a period in between Homecoming and Far From Home where he wasn't signed either. So I don't know if they know what they've got with him
Right.
quite yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's great. Let's talk about Batman. So there was 2 things earlier on, like
Yep.
almost like right after we recorded the last episode about Jeffrey Wright being Commissioner Gordon and Jonah Hill. At this point, all we can say is for a villain.
Yes.
I think
Undisclosed.
initially it was like Penguin.
We all
I'm
thought it was
assuming
Penguin
because
just
of
because of the
everyone-
body
yeah.
image side of things, which
other people
was
said
a bias
Riddler.
on our side. But
Yeah, everyone has said Riddler as well. Because,
and I could really see him being a good Riddler.
yeah, because it seems like that would be the main villain of this movie.
Yeah.
I think
Which makes the most sense for how they're describing this whodunit kind of thing. It seems like a very Riddler thing to do, is just put Batman through that challenge.
right. Well,
So
we'll
I
see. I
yeah.
don't know. Who knows? And I think the holdup is the money he's asking for, $10 million.
Yep.
Which I feel like people really balk at initially, but why not ask for it? See where you land.
Hey, at the end of the day, we're all trying to feed ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. For him to ask for 10 million, I don't think is a big ask, considering the fact that when he did Wolf of Wall Street, he took like what, 50,000,
I don't know.
or he took the lowest possible amount that
Yeah,
you can pay
because he wanted to be in
because
a
he wanted to be in a
Scorsese
Scorsese film. He's done his work. He's gotten numerous Oscar nods. He's done some great stuff that I never thought he was capable of. He deserves the 10 million, I think. I don't care if he's like, he's getting paid more than Robert Pattinson. Your point before we started recording, Schwarzenegger got more than Clooney in Batman, and Nicholson
probably
got
more.
more than Keaton probably in Batman. And that's just because these were the big names pulling people in at the time. And we're still relying on that.
Yeah. Right. So he did get nominated twice. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
So he got nominated for Moneyball and Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
like we
and I
said.
love Moneyball.
I love both those movies.
Yeah.
I think I like.
It was the
well, not
most
I think.
fun
Wolf,
that I could have had talking about statistics for about 2 hours.
Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street was way better in my opinion, but I like both of them
Wolf
a lot.
Wolf of Wall Street was
those are
hilarious
great
fun. Yeah.
movies and great performances by him.
Correct.
But yeah, I think people lose sight of that as they try to defend Robert Pattinson against people who look at him as just Twilight. I think they lose sight of Jonah Hill being more than just like Superbad and the
And
21 Jump Street movies.
100%.
Yeah, he's done his fair share of indie stuff as well, in addition
Mm-hmm.
to prestige stuff.
Because let's
And-
be honest here, with this casting of Pattinson, that's Jonah. There's a lot more people saying no to that than yes to Jonah Hill. So to me, Jonah Hill's the thing that's gonna that's like the casting call is like, yes, Jonah Hill for this would be great, and then people are like Pattinson. Were very mixed about, right?
Yeah, well, we'll see if
At least for people.
Jonah Hill actually shows up. But
Yep.
that would be cool. Cool, great. I wrote down the names of the women that they're looking at for Catwoman. See if you can find a pattern here. Lupita Nyong'o,
Yep.
Tessa Thompson, Gugu Mbatha, Alexandra Shipp, and Logan Browning. Now, I think we all know who Lupita Nyong'o is, Oscar-winning actress, most recently from Us, which I would love to see her get nominated for that as well.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Tessa Thompson, amazing as Valkyrie and just almost everything I've
And
seen her in, I've been
Creed-
like,
and Creed 2
yeah,
did like
she's.
love those movies.
I mean, she's fine in Men in Black International. I think
I
don't
haven't
know.
seen it.
I've
I'm not
seen
gonna
it.
Comment on it.
I've seen it.
Whatever.
She's probably fine in that. Gugu Mbatha, she's in what's it called? That one that everyone likes, San Junipero from Black Mirror. She's in that awful Cloverfield spaceship movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. But she's a great actress. She's also in Beauty and the Beast. I don't remember which character, but she's there.
The Emma Watson remake?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
one.
Gotcha.
Alexandra Shipp is Storm, and also Ice Cube's wife in Straight Outta Compton. I don't remember what that character's name is. I don't think that movie was really interested in making sure you knew who the females were. And Logan Browning is from Dear White People. I think
Yes.
she's great. So obviously,
They want
I
a
want-
person of color.
yeah, I really would love if Lupita Nyong'o did it, but I just feel like she reads as older than Robert Pattinson, and
Yeah.
also just
I
I mean, maybe it would work if I was like, oh yeah, like she'll run circles around that guy.
Yeah, I personally think Alexandra Shipp and the Dear White People,
Logan Browning.
Logan Browning, are personally the better choices for that role, I think. Just because I think to match Pattinson's age from that perspective.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
you're trying to do. I think
It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's just purely an age thing. How
my
will this
thing with
relationship
Alexandra
grow?
Shipp, while I would be fine if she did it, I'd never seen her be forceful in anything, and you kind of need Catwoman to like. You would, in most iterations that you like Catwoman, she is not just a physical but like a mental threat to Batman, and I've never seen Alexandra Shipp pull anything close to that off. I mean, the closest she would have had was Apocalypse, because I think that's the only time they tried anything with Storm. But like,
Yeah.
but that didn't really work out, and she started off as the villain in that. So I'm just like, she didn't really do it for me there. And I'm hoping what they're trying to do is play this out like what the comics are doing right now. And I just like from even Gotham was. Catwoman being like his true love, like they can't make it work out, but like so I kind of want the person, if they are doing the true love thing, to be kind of a match for him, and
Gotcha.
that I don't see with Alexandra Shipp. I don't want this to seem like I don't like her, because realistically I think she's just never had a chance, so I've just never seen her do it,
Right.
and I've seen a bunch of things from her, but I feel like she always gets slotted into like a secondary role where she can't fully show what she can do.
That's fair.
So I haven't seen it from her, whereas everyone else I've at least been like, oh yeah, like I see how that would play as the
Yeah.
like strong female lead that would give him a run for his money.
Totally.
Especially Logan Browning, if we are going out of the two you like.
Yep.
But yeah, I really like Lupita, and I
Oh,
just feel
everyone
like
loves Lupita.
I
mean, let's
just
be
feel
honest
like
here.
Tessa
She's-
is so close to Thor right now that it would be not distracting. I understand how acting works. I feel like people say that a lot. I'm like, but that's how acting works. They play multiple characters.
Yeah.
I just feel like there is such a tie to that other thing that you kind of want to see her finish that off before you see
Yeah.
her as Catwoman.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, Josh Brolin was Thanos and Cable and all in the same year.
Yeah.
So that's
I
perfectly
mean, that
fine.
didn't. I mean, one's heavily CGI, and the other one's whatever. The other one's.
But that's what I'm
action.
saying. Like it worked. Like it was.
Oh, totally,
fine.
it worked.
Like I don't.
the
It's
assumption
not like
here-
you're not. It's not like you're like. Is that Josh Brolin? Like it's CGI, but he's doing the physical performance, and you're well
And the
aware
voice.
that is
Yeah.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not too concerned with. I get your point with Alexandra Shipp. I just think they're all great casting calls. I just don't think Lupita is going to be doing this, because I see her doing other things. To be very honest here, it's nice to know that her name's in contention for this. But here's a question I have for you, because I haven't been paying too much attention to this kind of stuff because I've been going through my own stuff and all that kind of stuff. Has there been a backlash against these names because
haven't
they're
looked
black
into it.
women?
No, I haven't looked into it.
Okay.
I
Because-
think people lead with just like in the '60s, which is a bit more insidious than people know. Because I think
more serious, yeah.
because they were like, well, we'll just make her black. That way, no one would ever think that Batman would like her because she's black. And
What?
that's why Eartha Kitt was Catwoman for a time in Batman. Good for Adam West. He's like, still fucked her though. So,
Yep.
didn't stop me. But anyway, yeah, I used to be like when Halle Berry was Catwoman, everyone was like, how dare they? She's black. I was like, but for most of our like time with Catwoman, like Eartha Kitt played Catwoman as well. Like it's not like completely out of left part, and she wasn't even playing Selena Kyle. She was playing some other stupid character
Version.
Yeah, like it shouldn't have mattered anyway to people.
Yeah. The only issue I have with that movie is the movie itself, not the casting.
Oh no, it's
Halle
just a
Berry.
bad movie. Yeah.
It's just a terrible movie.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want to watch that ever again. But other than that, I'm like, sure, whatever. I don't care.
I just think obviously
Make it
there's
about
precedent
merit,
for
yeah.
there being a not white Catwoman.
Oh, God.
There's nothing about that character that needs to be white, and we had this conversation last episode.
Yeah,
so
nothing
whatever.
about that character needs to be white. Nothing.
All right, that's all I've got.
No.
I think we ought to dig into this movie here.
Let's do it. Entree
Excellent.
time.
Boom.
The Joker. I will be the first to go on record to say that I was wrong. all those conversations we had publicly and privately through our chats and everything like that, being like, I don't know how this movie is going to work. It works. It's good. Like, I thought the way they slotted in the comic book stuff to be so incredibly clever, to be the idea of like, oh, you can't have Joker without Batman. It's like, well, you could have a Joker that created Batman if you're like on the side of the Jack Nicholson version of Batman too. It's just like, it's all these different things. So it's like, if you like the Jack Nicholson Batman and Joker, like the original Batman, then you can't hate on this. And we're giving you the Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne killing thing in a very, very interesting new kind of reimagining of it. And it is tied to the same universe. You do have a Joker with a Batman, with a Bruce. You don't have a Batman yet, but I did like the idea that they pulled all those elements together to make something that was more of a character study movie than anything else.
I will say I did like how, if you're narratively, that sequence creates Joker and Batman in one go. That was nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's very well acted.
Oh God, the acting was incredible.
Yeah, it's I like the movie. I should say that ahead of time. I don't know if it comes together for me like it came together for you, or even someone like Pauline. I feel like people really loved it, and I was kind of like, that was really well made. I think the biggest strength it has is how it can actually affect your emotions like during it. Like,
oh my God, I was so scared during.
Yeah,
the whole
you
thing.
could. There's definitely that sense of dread. There's there's some very dark comic relief. There's like, I thought that was what the strength of the movie was, like that it could make you feel things. I don't think it's a passive movie that way.
No, it's not.
don't think you could. I mean, you could just shut off, but I think if you actually are watching it realistically, even if you don't like the movie, you'll feel something coming out of it.
Yeah, this
And
movie
I like-
demands your attention.
And
sure.
I think that more than anything is what works about the movie.
Right.
That you can give people multiple emotional reactions to it, which is good. Yeah, I mean, I think I told my dad right as I left there, like, I guess the last 20 minutes they kick into the comic book stuff, but the movie's not necessarily interested in that.
No, it's not at all.
I
That's what
did like that brief moment earlier, like not early on, but when he goes to see Bruce, or wants to see Thomas Wayne, but sees Bruce and he goes down the bat pole. I thought that was like a cool thing.
Because that entire time is like, I know that's Bruce.
Yeah.
I know you're teasing it. That's fun. And I like it.
So that was good. I think there's two things that I still sit with that didn't. If we are trying to tie it to Batman, which initially it sounds like that's what you were doing.
Yes.
That's a weird take on Alfred, like a real asshole.
Yeah,
Alfred.
it's a really weird take on it.
To say nothing
And
of the
that was-
Thomas Wayne.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
that was one of my things too. Is just like in my head is like, was that actually Alfred? And I'm like, okay,
I mean, it doesn't have to be, because I for sure thought that Bill Camp and Shea Wiggum were playing Gordon and Bullock,
Right.
and they weren't. And I was like, see, this is why Gotham has ruined me. I was like, what? You already went that far. Just wait the battle. I'm like, it wouldn't necessarily make sense that that's who those people are.
Yeah.
So like, it's fine that they're not. And it would, but I just feel like how many British butlers do they have on that, on those grounds?
Yeah.
That like if it's not.
No, it is. That's what it's. That's what IMDb is reporting. His
Is
Douglas
Alfred-
Hodge is Alfred Pennyworth.
Yeah. So I just felt
yeah.
like, oh, he's kind of a dick, and so is, and obviously Thomas Wayne is bad, and I think that was always my initial issue is like, you're trying to tie it to Batman. You could have very easily not had anything to do with Batman and still have this be a very effective movie.
Correct.
And then you brought Thomas Wayne in and made him like pretty much irredeemable up until he dies.
Yeah,
and
you
then
make
you're like,
you're kind of like, I want you to get killed. Like, I don't know if it's going to happen in this film, but you're just like, I hope you get your comeuppance.
well, I mean, they did telegraph. I mean, briefly by being like, oh, they're at a Zorro movie. I'm like, and you're like, oh, okay, that's
Yep.
where his parents die.
Yep.
But like, I just, yeah, there was something about that where I'm like, that's like supposed to be the guy that like Batman is trying to like not avenge, but like that's the good he wants to replicate by being Batman, and like his dad is like actively not good, and
So-
there's enough new stuff going around
Yeah.
like that I feel like he would be able to like piece that together.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. I was just like, I thought they took Todd Phillips took a weird direction with Thomas Wayne, but the way that I realized this, because I was thinking about this a lot, obviously, for the past 24 hours, is the idea of maybe they made him a jerk from the point of view of the Joker or Arthur Fleck. Like, they made him an asshole for that reason, but to Bruce's perspective, he sees his dad as a hero and all that kind
But
of stuff.
he
and
like
they're
calls
upholding
people
to him.
clowns and stuff like people in need clowns like on TV. That's not like in Arthur's head.
No.
That is actually a thing, and that's what
that's a real thing. Yeah.
So that I wouldn't really be able to roll with because he did that. Like that's
Right.
not just a like subjective thing that happened. Like he objectively like
That's fair.
punched down,
Yeah.
which isn't good. And
No,
that's
you're
not- and
absolutely
that's
right. He
not-
did punch down and everything like that. Because every iteration of Thomas Wayne, we're like, he's this upstanding guy. He's
That
like
or you
this
just don't
great
get
and all
into
this-
it.
Yes, or that.
But like to the extent that you show that he's actively not a good guy, and
Oh, he's
even
just a guy.
Well, I mean, we can get into the storyline, but like even as it pertains to Joker's mother, like it does still feel like there's a bit of gaslighting going on, even
Oh,
if it,
100%.
like, so like all of that is just shitty stuff. So you're like, oh, okay. And again, that always comes back to me being like, I just wish they didn't bring the Batman stuff into it because I think that movie works just as well if you don't have that, because realistically, the emotional payoff for that character is what happens with Robert De Niro's Murray character.
Yes.
That's who he cares. That's who he cares about.
Yep.
That's the person that like. That's the person who he saw as a father figure who rejected him,
100%.
and then he needs to go after.
Yep.
So you could have just done that, and it would have worked
I agree.
just as well.
I agree. I think the Batman stuff coming into the to the movie so late was basically Todd Phillips being like, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to get a lot of criticism from the Batman community if I don't include this
Yeah,
or something
and
like that."
I'm-
so I think he just threw it in
I don't
a
think he
clever
got-
way, but I don't think it was one of those things where it's like, "Hey, I got to make a movie about Joker. Great, now I have to shoehorn this in." Like,
I
it's-
think that is what happened. I
think that's what happened?
I think he was like, I got to shoehorn the Batman stuff in.
Gotcha.
I don't think he was worried about what people think, and we can talk about that too later. I don't think that's what he was concerned. I'm sure he probably got studio notes, but I definitely feel like that was like a. I bet when history like plays out, it'll feel more like Sam Raimi having to put Venom in Spider-Man 3 than
Fair enough.
something that he legitimately wanted to deal with.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, you had an issue with it. You would prefer the Batman stuff not be in the movie.
I would, because there's a certain point where, because you know who it is, you're kind of like, oh, like, I guess like we have to deal with the Batman. Like we're gonna have to deal with Thomas Wayne being killed, which means you're really pressing that Batman button there. And they even to the point they did 2 different reaction shots of Bruce Wayne, like really like leaning into it. It wasn't like a passing thing. Like they really leaned into it.
Yes, they did.
The other thing, and this is something Pauline and I talked about on the way home. By the way, she thinks it's like a perfect movie, so this didn't like ruin it for her. But for me, I was like, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of it. It's like, but like, she was just like, I just don't see how that would be like the Joker. Like he's not like smart. Like so, like the way I broke it down, like if you take the three like big, I'm not gonna count Mark Hamill. Like that's different. You get a TV show to work with it, or whatever.
Yeah, you
but,
get
like,
really long format.
but like, so like that's, and he gets to do it over video games, TV shows, or whatever.
yes,
So that's its own thing, and and I feel like there is the difference there. But like,
I
if you
agree.
think of like
when we
Heath
talk about the
Ledger-
Joker in this discussion, it should purely be cinematic.
yeah.
Film.
And so I mean, I won't even bring in Cesar Romero, who I think also did a good job, but like that also was off the back of a TV show.
Correct.
Even when he did the movie. But like if you think about Jack Nicholson, there's like a certain like charisma and like sadism to him that isn't in this movie, and feels like you would be deviating from what you established in this movie if you did start implementing it.
Yes.
And there's definitely a lack of him being like a step ahead the way Heath Ledger's Joker was.
Correct.
He's just like a guy that like luckily got away from those cops and like
Yep.
really was willing to just sacrifice himself after he shot Robert De Niro's character.
Yep.
Which is, again, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, because they lean so much on the like Batman stuff and like this is the beginning of Joker, you're like, I just don't see him like being that big of a deal then, like after the fact.
So here's my ultimate thing. I do agree with that from the perspective of this Joker will never be a real threat to Batman, and
Or like even the cops, I feel like.
yes, and that's why he was caught in Arkham and everything
Yeah.
like, toward the end, right? He wasn't a real threat physically and everything like that. He inspired a lot. He didn't care about any of it. He was just like, look at what I've done. This is cool and
I
everything
mean,
like
I
that.
would-
But I didn't have he didn't set out to do that. He didn't want to watch Gotham burn.
I also saw the people like, look what he inspired, and I know the movie tries to position that, but I'm like, that was like people heard.
Oh,
Three
people put
people
a spin
died.
on it
Yeah,
themselves,
people
yeah.
heard 3 people died because of a clown killer. But I would say more what inspired it was that Thomas Wayne reaction of people calling people clowns.
Yes.
And that is more of it. So that's what I'm saying is like he's not like anything. He just like
He's a man.
very singular, and that's why it works to have this be like a one-off.
Yes.
And that story just be the story of how this guy
Mm-hmm.
killed him, Murray character. I don't remember the full name.
Franklin Murray.
Yeah, the Franklin Murray character. Like it's
Murray Franklin, actually.
Sorry, yeah, the killing the Murray Franklin character, because it's like, well, yeah, he's not like. I thought there was going to be an element of him like trying to inspire something, but he's not trying to do anything other than like that, which is fine. But again, it's you put it under this branding, and so then that comes with certain. I can't not think about that, especially since the movie is trying to invite me to think about that.
That's fair. And this is, to me, I thought the entire time watching that, I'm like, this is a Joker that Batman would be able to take care of really, really easily. He's not a physical threat. He's not like, doesn't have the poison immunity that we all know from the comic book and everything. Like, it's grounded in reality, right? With yes, to your point, or to Pauline's point, with the Heath Ledger Joker is one step ahead all the time. He's got a plan. It's nuts and all that kind of stuff. It's pure anarchy, right? This Joker is just like, I have a plan. It's a selfish plan. I just want this, and I'll be good after that kind of deal. So it's a very self-fulfilling kind of thing. To this and every other Joker, they're very, very selfish. They're 100% very, very selfish, right? So he does the selfish part really, really well, I think. In the sense, it was like, no, I just need you to die. I need this to happen. I need this, and like I need to get my message across, which is me freaking out on the show, getting all this attention, like admitting to murder and all that kind of stuff. He's like, no, I did this. I want the fame. I want the attention and everything like that. He even fantasizes about Murray Franklin being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pull you on. You're a part of the show now, and all that kind of stuff. How it would have looked, and I thought that scene was amazing. Yeah, when when Arthur and Penny, his mom, are watching the Murray Franklin show for the first time, and he's hallucinating that whole thing in his head. I thought that was truly fantastic.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So I want to just say what the storyline is, because as we dig into certain bits, I feel like it'll be helpful for people to know what the context is. So essentially how this movie starts is not because of Thomas Wayne, but I guess Thomas Wayne is okay with this because of cuts and like government cuts. He no longer has access to this psychiatric help he's getting, and specifically the medicine that he's getting.
Yes.
He can't get that anymore, which already is starting to spin things out. His mother is sick, and she actually hasn't been telling him ahead of time, but she's got this whole thing throughout the movie where she's like, did Thomas Wayne send us a letter? I used to work there, you know? So as a savvy audience, we're like, oh, she must be like, oh, like I need help.
Yep.
And I will admit that I already knew ahead of time that was the push of the movie. Like most people read the script ahead. I didn't, but I had people tell me that that's kind of the push, is that he thinks he's Thomas Wayne's son. And so he like at one point his mom, who was dying, is like, I wrote another letter. And so he reads it. That's when he finds out, hey, like potentially he raped her, or they had a relationship and she was forced to leave because she had a kid, and she says she signed a bunch of NDAs and stuff, and that's why she didn't tell him. So then he makes it his deal, kind of like a side mission, because as I said, that scene that you were talking about when he watches the Murray Franklin show, he's kind of like, oh, like this is my father figure. This is who I care about.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh, but this other guy is my father who could have been helping, but also my mom lied to me. I don't know what to do. So doesn't seem, and he doesn't ultimately kill Thomas Wayne either. He just wants to have that conversation with him. And I kind of understand that thing of like, well, I just need clarity. Like, I just need you to either be like, yeah, for your mom's right, or whatever. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that's more what he wanted.
That breakdown in the washroom was
because he
absolutely
didn't
phenomenal.
want to fight him. He didn't want to kill him. He was just like,
he's just like, I want a
please.
hug. I want you to say something, acknowledge me, or something like that. And he just punches him in the face instead.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That is crazy. I'm like, that was
really well done. So then he loses that, and then goes back to the hospital, and that's when Murray Franklin does the joke about him on his show.
Yep.
And then he's like, all right, well, fuck this then, because now I'm going to get him.
Yep.
And that's kind of where everything spiraled. And like all the stuff you see in the trailer of him actually in the like purple Joker suit, that's like what basically it is.
Yep.
Because he's made fun of on that show, they reach out and they're like, hey, do you want to be on the show? And he's like, perfect. So that's what we're talking about. But I guess the two things I want to talk about was, we'll get to the characters later, but do you think that he is Thomas Wayne's son?
No.
Because when it was brought up, again, with Pauline, I was kind of like, I want to watch it again because you get to see his mother's handwriting in that letter, and I want to know if that matches the handwriting of the
adoption papers.
No, the one on the back of the picture where it says "You've got a lovely smile, TW."
Gotcha.
Because if what everyone else was saying is true, and she's got this narcissistic thing, and she's got these delusions, she might have just written that herself as part of the story.
It's very possible.
But if not, I feel like at the very least, she's not wrong about them having a relationship.
Yeah.
If that wasn't a forged thing on the back of that.
And
picture.
how conflated that relationship was is a different thing. And the other thing, too, is just like, it doesn't... I mean, if I was Thomas Wayne, why would I give her a photo of herself with a note? It just...
Well,
weird.
that's what I'm saying. I just feel like the way Alfred was played, it really made it seem like something happened. Like it wasn't like, because way he says there is no them, he's not, and that might just be down to the actor, but he's not playing that like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like it wasn't just like, oh, we just fired her because she's crazy.
Yeah,
like
so
that was like well, you clearly know something, and I don't need that to be said around Bruce.
My take of it was that she probably was working at Wayne Manor and all that kind of stuff, doing all. I think all that is true.
Oh yeah, that is. I don't think that's
there's evidence of that, right?
Yeah.
But I think that she started making up stories, and then she got worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point where like, well, listen, we got to let you go and all that kind of stuff, and then they ultimately did. But before, I'm pretty sure that during that period of time, that there must have been some sort of hysteria on her end, hysteric event that was like, take me back, Thomas, like I'm your true love, or not Martha, or whatever it was like that. I'm just projecting and assuming. and that probably caused a lot of grief for the entire Wayne family, and including Alfred.
Yeah.
So he's like, listen, I've had enough of your bullshit before, like all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that's what
I
think
guess
happened there.
I guess it's true he's adopted, so he's not Thomas Wayne's son regardless. But
Right.
I guess it's more important to discern whether or not the relationship
Yeah.
was real, because all that could be in question maybe is just whether or not whether or not he's obviously, but in her mind, what could have been in question is whether or not he's adopted,
Yeah.
because that part seems to be. But I guess when you read the records, it's like, well, yeah, like she just had him chained up. Oh, the boyfriend had him chained up on
Right.
a radiator and beating him and stuff. So she wasn't that focused on him for whatever reason.
No, she was just, and I love that scene where it shows young Penny in the Arkham
and
Asylum.
he's in the room with her. That's nice.
Yeah, it was a
Not nice.
great
It's
scene.
not
It was-
nice.
Yeah, it
It's
was
like-
great visuals there, and the idea of just like, whoa, like you're like in that semi-lucid state, you're so fixated on Thomas Wayne, you really let this level of abuse and child endangerment happen. Like, this is absolutely nuts. My biggest question was during that period of time, and I think I must have missed this or something like that, or just too caught up in the movie, but do you think that Arthur Fleck is a adoption after the original child was killed or something like that? Do you think that happened, or
Well,
do you think
that's what I was saying. I don't know if
Yeah.
she had a child or not.
That-
It's basically
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
that's
I
that's
don't,
what I'm thinking too? Is
I,
whether or not
I
she
don't
had
think
a
the
child
movie
or
wants that to
replaced
be
it.
a
Yeah.
big question. I just feel like if there is a question in my mind about it,
Yep.
it's whether or not she had a kid with
Right.
Thomas Wayne, even if it's not. I mean, it isn't Arthur Fleck. I feel like the movie does a good job of being like, no, here are the adoption papers. Everyone, it's on record. You are adopted. That's just what it is. But she could have had another kid with, and I don't think it's Bruce. I'm just saying, I
Right.
think she could have had another kid with him,
Yeah.
and that could have been, because I just feel like, I feel like the way people were playing it, she wasn't all the way off. Yes, she's off that
Yeah.
Arthur is the son,
Yeah.
but something could have happened. I wouldn't completely rule that out.
But I wouldn't completely rule it out either. But I think, to me, the idea of putting that in there is so brilliant, because the idea that you and I have both said something like, "Oh, the Joker shouldn't have an identity, shouldn't have he shouldn't have an origin story and all this kind of stuff." That move alone makes us question all of the origin story in itself. It's just like, well, who is he? Does it matter anymore? Was he just adopted? Like, all this kind of stuff. Like, it,
You don't know who his parents are, but you see the circumstances that turned him into the Joker.
Correct.
That's what the movie is.
and I like that a lot more.
Yeah.
It's the idea of like, oh, he's Mr. Fleck and he comes from this lineage and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, oh, that sucks. But now it's just like, oh, he's adopted. They gave him the name Fleck, obviously. Did all this kind of
yeah,
stuff.
but like
hid it
he's
away,
obviously
and-
adopted at a young enough age that is his upbringing.
Right.
It's not like he was like 10 and
Right.
like you're missing a bunch of years of like what it seems like he was adopted as a baby.
Must have been.
Yeah, so that is his mom.
Sure.
That's it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought was interesting. And I guess as we talk about the characters, the Zazie Beetz character, I don't know what her name was.
Sophie Drummond. Drummond,
yeah, Sophie.
Not Drummond. Drummond.
Do you think she died?
You mean?
Like, do you think he killed her? Is basically what I'm asking. Because while he's having his like breakdown outside, like he leaves, but then while he's having his breakdown, there is the ambulance that like pulls up as well, and I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I didn't
Because
think too much about that.
That was my worry, even from the trailers, because the trailers make it seem like when he's doing that, like walk out to da 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 da,
Yep.
hey, like in the trailers, it looks like he's like going to her like apartment,
Yep.
and I'm like, that doesn't look good for her because I feel like she's not going to be on board, and this is going to be a problem.
Yep.
But I mean, ultimately, that is what we get: is that he's made up a whole relationship in his head, and she's just like, fucking get out of my apartment. Like,
Well, my question is that one scene after he kills the 3 Wall Street guys on the subway, do you think that was a hallucinated thing, or do you think he actually just like went into her apartment, grabbed her, and kissed her?
no, he didn't do that. Obviously,
You don't think he did that?
it's obvious he didn't do it.
Okay. Well,
She-
I really got to rewatch this movie. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
because all she says when you actually see what happens is that she's just like, "Oh, you're Arthur. Like you just live down the hall from me." There's no like,
Yep.
she's not like, "What? We just had sex one time. Like why would you come here?"
Gotcha.
Like none of the stuff, because that wouldn't make sense. Why would she just be okay with that? Like you saw her once in the elevator and like had like a this type thing, and then
Yeah, that jump
it's fine for him
exchange,
to
and
just
then
like.
they had-
And also, why would she like? Oh no, that part's real. But like, yeah, like it's just I don't
Well,
think
and
any
she
of that.
does see his stand-up show.
No, she doesn't. They showed that she didn't see it.
Really?
Yeah, none of it happened. He literally
It's
sees
completely
it.
fabricated, eh?
Yeah, he literally sees her in an elevator,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if he says anything to her. I don't think that part where he goes, "Hey."
Yeah,
And
I
then
don't
she's
think that
gone.
was
I don't
real.
think that happened. I think she saw him in the elevator once, and that's what spurs him. Maybe he did follow her, but she doesn't come back after the fact and be like, "Hey, was that you following me?" None of it happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he's all on his own. He obviously went to the comedy club, or else they wouldn't have the tape. But she wasn't there,
Gotcha.
and she wasn't like with him in the hospital. She like they in the movie they only interact twice.
Because at that point in time, he was already off his meds, right? Because the program had already closed down and all that kind of stuff. He was off his meds already, right?
No, because I think he still has meds for a bit after the fact.
But
They
he,
say
no,
it-
but the thing is, when he kills the guy, the Randall guy, when he kills him, he just
Oh, that point he's
Yeah.
off his meds. Yeah,
Well, he just says, "I've stopped taking my meds." Doesn't
Yeah.
mean he's run out. He just stopped taking them, and I feel so much better and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. I think he's run out
Mm.
because it shows that he like kind of really goes for it with those 3 bottles.
Oh, yeah,
at the
he was-
beginning, and then I think he just runs out.
And he
by
was
that
scared too. Is like when the program's like, "Where
Yeah.
will I get my?" He
Yeah.
was like, "What?" That was one of the first questions. He was like, "Where am I going to get my meds and everything?" He knows how bad it could be without it, right? So yeah, like that's okay. That's fair. I really like the idea that the rest of it's just hallucinated. And
point. I just hope he didn't kill her and her daughter.
yeah, I really hope that wasn't. a
And
thing
I
to-
think that would just be the one inconsistency there is that like it shows that I said, you know what, mostly on screen all you do is you only see him killing white men, which is interesting.
Yes.
And definitely different from Heath Ledger's Joker where you mostly only see him killing black men.
Yep.
But like what I found interesting about that is each time he kills, I think people really think that the subway thing was like self-defense. I'm like, yeah, maybe the first shot, but the rest of it is him like
No, that's not self-defense, man.
no, the first shot I can see him being like, okay, get away. But then after that, he's
Why would
definitely
he go for a
just
headshot?
going.
You don't go for a headshot for self-defense.
I just think he definitely. I mean, I don't know why we would argue about this. We're both
Yeah.
getting to the same point. That
We are.
It's not self-defense.
It's not,
But I think each time he kills, it's like someone who has actively done something wrong to him.
Yep.
Whereas at the end of the movie, when he's walking and the blood's like on the floor, I'm like, did that woman actively do something bad to him?
At that point, I think because every time he kills, he balances out in the sense where from his
well, he does that dance thing, and that kind of is like him getting back into his zone. Like after
Yeah.
the kills, he's
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
like, all right.
yeah. So
there's-
every time he kills someone, it's just like he gets back in his zone. He's fine. He's like in a space where he's happy. He's confident without the medications and all that kind of stuff. And that's so. I think toward the end of the movie where he kills the one person, and there's that little funny "I'm gonna chase you around the hallway" kind of like little bit that they do. I think at that point he's just like, this is going to be my medicine from now on. I'm just going
Right.
to murder people. And I'm going to have here some peace and quiet in my head. And
So
feel
he's just fully become the villain at that point.
100%.
Yeah. Because I could even, I'm not saying she did anything wrong to him, but I can see in his head
Yep.
being like, oh, like, what's her name? Sophie? What, Zazie Beetz' character's name?
Sophie.
Yeah, I can see him being like, how dare you?
Yep.
You're dead now. But like, without me being like, well, I don't think people deserve to be murdered. But
Right.
with the logic of this movie, I understand how the previous people getting killed, you're like, oh, that's kind of what we set up here.
Yeah, because
they've wronged him and he needs to.
Well, it's not just that. It's just the idea of you're pushing someone so far and then you just snap and then you can't let that beast out of the cage anymore, right? It's like pushing an animal against a corner, there's only one way it can go is through you. And then I think it snapped, and he was just like, "Yep, this is what it's gonna be now on."
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of like, so that one scene where he kills Randall, and he has the scissors and everything, and he goes crazy on him and all that kind of stuff. There was still a point in all his killings, because he was like, "No, Gary," played by Lee Gill. That I thought that was really funny. He was like, when he's trying to walk past Randall, he's like, "Boo!" Like that.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the dark comic relief. Because realistically, that's a really mean thing to do.
That's a super mean thing to do, for sure.
In the interest of having some kind of nervous release, I was like, good.
Yeah.
Very astute of you, Albert. What's his name? Arthur,
yeah. And just the idea of like Gary being so like that element of defeat where he's like, "Hey, I can't even reach the chain to get out of here. I need your help right now." And
I thought he was just like, "Oh, you're obviously going to kill me too."
Yeah.
I didn't think he was like, "Oh, you're going to help me." I think he was like, "Oh, I'm going to die." That was
my
too.
thought the entire time. I was like, "You're just going to kill him, man. And he's done nothing wrong. This is going to be brutal." And then he just let him go, and I'm like, "What?"
The movie had definitely. That's why I initially thought it was inconsistent, because I think the movie did a good job of being like, the only people who will die are people who actively wronged him.
Yes. And then he just full on embraces it at the end, I think.
And I feel like what you said makes sense. That he's at that point, he's like, well, this is just what I do now, obviously.
Yep.
So you don't need to wait for someone to wrong you. You're just gonna kill people at this point. But before that, I was just like, well, no, Gary never did anything to him. He was actually nice to him. So
super nice to him.
I don't think Gary's gonna die. I think he's because he would have done it earlier.
Right.
He would have gone for both of them.
Correct.
So I felt like, no, he's safe. It's just really mean that he was like, yeah, you can go. Like, and obviously he's not thinking about the lock, but it's still all together was like, oh, that's really mean.
Yeah, it's a really, really mean thing. And I'm just like, the moment he put on the lock, I'm like, someone died.
Oh yeah,
someone's gonna die.
Also, last episode we were talking about Ninja Turtles 90. His boss Hoyt is the voice of Raphael, and actually in the suit as well of Raphael. I think he's the only.
Oh, cool.
Josh Pace is his name. I think
Josh
he's the
Pace,
only.
yeah.
He's the only actor that is in the suit and doing the voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's still doing comic book stuff.
Yeah. Let's do some character breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Let's.
So the mom, she really turns out to be a bum.
Oh God, Penny, played by Frances Conroy.
Yes. I like her as an actor.
I like her as an actress, an actor, or whatever you want to call it. She was pretty fantastic. I will say that.
I don't think there were any weak links. I'm just going to say that ahead of time. Other than like Sophie's daughter, I was just like, there's no one here that I'm going to be like, man, they were all right. Like everyone
Gigi
did a good
sucked
job.
And was like, who cares? Like, it wasn't about Gigi. It was just like a character
Even Bruce
to show her
killed it.
vulnerability. That was.
I didn't think Bruce was going to be good, but I'm like, oh, that kid's doing a good job too, man.
You
Everyone's
really
doing
didn't have a lot of good things to say about Alfred Douglas Hodge. Here.
I'm not saying he was a bad actor. I'm saying
just it was a weird direction.
I
to
don't
take.
like that direction
Fair
for
enough.
Alfred. I think that they took the two men that you associate with tethering Batman from being just a full-on crazy man and made them dicks.
Yep. I actually saw this. I didn't care too much about it because the way I thought things would go was that once Thomas and Martha Wayne were murdered, that Alfred would have been a different butler altogether. That was my assumption. That's why I didn't read into it too much, but that's what I wanted to tell myself.
Fair. I think Frances Conroy did a great job.
Yes.
I did not see that coming. That I had my suspicions that she was not completely there.
Oh yeah.
But I was just like, there's still all that time where you let him get beaten, treated like an animal. Like that sucks.
Yep.
Is anyone else in this movie like?
Yeah, there wasn't. I guess
Thomas
else,
Wayne.
Right? Thomas Wayne was. We talked about it.
So that guy, I don't remember that. I think it's like Brett something. He was in Dark Knight Rises.
Brett
so
Cullen.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
That actor is just really good at playing that part. He's done so many of these roles now where he's just like, I just want to punch you in the face and everything like that.
Because I remember that was announced as Alec Baldwin first.
Yes,
and
it was.
Just like, I would have been fine with it, especially when you see how that how that plays out. I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, that's an Alec
That would have
Baldwin.
been that would have been completely fine for me.
But I'm just like, I just don't. I don't like that. That's how they went with Thomas Wayne.
The whole the whole casting of Mark Maron though as Gene Ufland was like the weirdest thing in the world because and largely because of what he did during the press. He kept shitting on comic book movies and all that kind of stuff, but he's in a comic book movie. But I'm just like, you had the equivalency of Randy Savage in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like you
I
played
wouldn't.
a role, but you didn't play a big role. So
In a situation like that, you don't have control over how much screen time.
Oh, yeah, you don't
actually,
have enough
He even
control.
said on his podcast, like he's like, "Look, all I know is I filmed scenes. I don't know how much of that is staying." And
Yeah.
I think that was the best way to put it. He's
Fair
not actually like.
no, he would not make
I mean,
editing
he's
decisions.
pretty,
or anything like that.
but he's pretty far up in the like cast list. It's just
He is.
I understand like that. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff he did that got cut for time.
I'm pretty sure.
It's
And it just probably didn't
so
serve
so I
anything
think
properly.
he was right to say, look, I could very well be cut out of this movie. I don't know. All I know is I filmed those scenes with Robert De Niro
Mm-hmm.
and Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm in a room with them. Like that's all I know. I can't say for sure I'll actually be in it. And yeah, I do think it's weird when people shit on the things they're in. I feel
Yeah.
like, look, all right, well, I'm glad you got paid for that then. Like,
Yep.
whatever. But yeah, there was a bunch of comedians in that movie, which I liked. Like the person who introduced him at the Comedy Store is Chris Redd, who's
Yes.
in Pop Star, which I love, and he's on SNL now. There's Brian Callen, who's on, well, he was on Mad TV. He's in a bunch of Todd Phillips movies, like he's in Old School for sure, and he's in a bunch of other stuff. Basically, most of the people that were clowns are like comedians that I know from like specials somewhere
Right.
or another. So I like that they were sprinkled in throughout the movie. But yeah, the Mark Maron thing, I don't know. There's nothing for me to say. Like he did a good job in his scene.
Yeah, I just have come to really, really appreciate Mark Maron since Glow.
Yeah.
It's he plays that part really, really well. So I was just like, oh, this will be interesting to see him here. But that's just me being like, I'm disappointed. By
I'm
not
more
seeing
disappointed by the lack of Zazie Beetz stuff than Mark Maron. The Mark Maron, then I'm pretty sure I just saw.
You're absolutely right. Zazie's Beats, there was, I don't know, underutilized or utilized properly or
No,
whatever.
she
it
was
was
underutilized.
But I mean, if you have her so heavily in this movie, though, it just ends up being a different movie. I think because it would be like, oh, okay, well now he's angry at the world because a woman didn't love him back too.
I don't think you need to do that. I just think you make more of the time that she's in it. Like, give her more to do than
Sure enough,
what she did.
fair enough.
Because that ultimately wasn't the point of the movie. That
Yes,
unfortunately, all she's there is to show how out to lunch she is because he imagined a whole relationship with her. Yeah, and I guess that plays into the fact that I don't know whether or not she's dead. That they kind of just discard her as soon as she doesn't serve a narrative purpose,
right.
which I don't like, and I feel like
That's
it's a bit of a bummer considering, like, I feel like is. Well, people retroactively really like to shit on Deadpool 2, or maybe even at the time, but she was a great part of that. Like,
I agree.
And like she probably had the same amount of screen time,
Yes,
but look what they like. And I'm not saying just make her do the domino stuff again, but she's capable of so much more than what they gave her to do in this with
100%.
similar amount of screen time.
Yeah, because when you see her in Atlanta, it's like, that's amazing. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, yes, you're capable of so much more. And yeah, I agree. They didn't utilize her well enough.
No. Again, not to say she's bad in it. I'm just saying that's all we're
We
getting.
want more.
Yeah. I just would have liked.
But
more.
like you said, there was no weak links in the acting or the casting. or
Everyone-
anything. Yeah.
even if I didn't know who the actor was, I was like doing a
Killed
great
it.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
like
scene
I don't know
stealers
who
or
that
whatever.
Alfred guy is. Like I don't know that I've seen him in other things. Maybe I have, but I was just like, like everyone is doing a good job. It's just whether or not. I feel like
Apparently he's
the-
a big part of Mad Men, I think.
Hmm.
Nope. Never mind. That's just me thinking out loud.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, he's going to be in Gemini Man. So,
I do want to see that.
yeah. I definitely want to see that, too. So you'll see him a little bit more, baby. Oh, he's in
Excellent.
Red Sparrow.
Yeah, I'm not watching that.
Yeah. No, I'm not watching that. He's in a Black Mirror episode.
Cool.
So
Cool.
that's fun.
Yeah, he's in The Night Manager. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I should have seen him in something. Yeah. So no weak links, as far as I'm
links.
concerned.
Yep, I agree. Casting was
It's just
spot
whether or
on.
not they use it. And again, I think the movie was really about the two people he saw as being three people. His
Yes.
mom, Murray, and Thomas are
Right.
all three people who have, for one reason or another, had a huge impact on his life, and they got to go.
Yep,
So
because they wronged him.
that's that.
Yeah.
So I guess there's not really much else to talk
There's
about.
not much else to talk about except for how eerie all the dancing was.
Yeah,
I loved how creepy it was, man. It was just great visually, and like, I want to bring up the Jimmy Fallon thing that
you mean Jimmy Kimmel?
Kimmel,
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, kind of did a promo, kind of like, oh, I'm going to do an interview here. It was so uncomfortable to watch that because
Yeah.
Phoenix, he did not know, and he was just like, what
You know
the
it's
hell?
fake, though, right?
What's that?
You know it's fake, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Did
It's
not
fake.
know that.
Yeah, it's fake. And his reps have had to come out and be like, it's obviously fake. I think it's just to make fun of Christian Bale, like when
Oh,
he
yeah?
did that thing on Terminator.
Best meltdowns ever.
Yeah, that's at first I was like, oh, he's doing a good job, because I was like, there's no chance that he did. And then you remember, like, he spent like a whole year doing fucked up interviews just so he could put it in his documentary with Casey
Right.
Affleck. That's like his thing, and Kimmel is the place to do joke stuff like that.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, that's not real. Like, just if you rewatch it, like watch when he's like, oh, I guess I should apologize, and Kimmel's like, yeah, you should, and he's like, but he shouldn't have done. Like, that's obviously part of the bit, and like I think if you watch it again knowing it's fake, you'll see all the tells that it's fake.
Okay. Yeah, because that made me very, very uncomfortable the entire time.
It's
But-
funny, but it's
but
not
to know
real.
that, like, that was the scene in the bathroom where he just fully changes into the Joker and all that kind of
And
stuff.
he paints his tongue.
Yeah, it added so much more to that scene to me.
Yeah, that's fake.
If it was real,
It
but
isn't.
now it's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that I because I remember the other big thing like that Kimmel did was the Matt Damon meltdown,
Oh yeah.
which that was earlier on in YouTube culture. So you were kind of like, I don't know, like it could be, and then
Fair enough.
enough time passed where you're like, obviously it's fake. They're just friends. And,
Fake news coming out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Who would have thought
yeah,
that Tinseltown was anything other than reliable? I thought they were just making documentaries, man.
exactly. So yeah, I guess
Favorite
time-
moments from this movie?
favorite moments.
Yeah.
I really like when he came out to da 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 da. Hey, I was like, what a great
That
song
was a-
selection.
yeah.
because I thought they were going to use some like classical music or just the score, which I also really like the score.
The score was awesome.
But like this song, I'm like I'm digging this choice, man. Like that's a really cool needle
Yeah.
drop. I don't know.
I
if
like
that
how
sounds
he
cool.
described that scene too, when he was like going down the stairs and he's like, "Listen, just play the score that you wanted to do for me, and let me just do my thing."
Yeah.
I really like if that was real. But
Yeah, that I liked that. I liked. I really like him killing all of the stuff around him killing Randall. Like that whole scene is
Yeah.
really well
really well done.
played out. There was another scene that really spoke to me. They were all like more of the silent stuff, but
Oh yeah.
that was a big one for me when he like comes out in full. When he uses his blood to make the Joker smile and
Oh
turns
god,
around and like.
that was
Because
awesome.
that's what I was saying. That's what I kind of liked the way they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like it's shoehorned in, but even if you take out the Wayne's dying,
Mm-hmm.
just the idea that everyone's like looking at him and he makes the Joker smile before he finally addresses the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. So yeah, but as a Batman fan, I'm like, oh, like they did it. There's the birth of Joker and Batman all in one sequence. That's
Yep.
pretty cool.
It was really cool. I actually really, really enjoyed that.
But yeah, I mean, it's not really like a.
Well, it's not meant to be anything else, and I hope
No.
it doesn't.
No,
Like,
no.
I hope they. Don't
No, I
try
was trying to think about like if there was like cool lines, but I don't think that's what this movie's about. It's all about how you feel, I would imagine.
the cool lines. I disagree. There's some like really like that joke that he keeps looking at in his joke book. The whole like thing is like, something I hope my dead body makes more sense in life, and sense see like with
The money.
the numerical amount, the monetary amount, I should say. I thought that was like, whoa, that's some really really crazy dark humor and everything like that.
It's not something he says out loud, though.
No,
That's
it's
what
not.
I'm saying. It's you're proving my point. It's all about how you feel. You felt
Correct.
some way reading that. It's not a
Yeah.
line that is said. It's not delivered a certain way.
Yeah, I think the stuff that creeps me out was just like, and it's in the trailer too. It was like, hey Murray, when you bring me out, could you introduce me as Joker? And I
Oh
was
yeah, that was good. I liked
that
it.
was really really good. I loved it.
Well, I like that it's not like that's my name. He's like,
Yeah.
well, that's what you called me.
Yeah.
Remember? And I'm like, I don't remember him calling you a Joker at all.
Yeah.
But like, I like that. That's why he
Or it
was
could
like,
have been
call me
something like,
Joker.
look at this Joker or whatever it is.
Because I honestly only ever heard him call him like buddy guy, or
Yeah.
I never heard him call Joker. Again, I would love to rewatch this,
I'm
but
definitely watching this for sure.
but yeah, I was just like, that's a cool touch.
I
That
thought
it's
that was
like, that he's
really,
like
really
introduce me as Joker, and you think that like from the trailers, it's like something he's built up in his head, and it's like, no, remember when you called me a Joker? Why don't you do that again?
He's
Go
playing
see
those
how that-
recall
yeah, like,
notes and everything like that. And I'm just like, how did you think this is going to be a good idea, buddy? It's just, but
well,
whatever.
it plays off of
Well,
like
Murray,
the Dark
he's-
Knight Returns scene
Yes.
where I don't remember. I think it's like a David Letterman analog.
Yeah.
Brings Joker out and he kills the whole crowd as well. So that again, that's why I was saying like the last 20 minutes gets into the comic book stuff.
It does because there was like what was that the Batman Returns stuff where the Joker goes on a killing spree after going on a television show to be like, "Hey, I'm reformed" and all that kind of stuff. It just like kills everyone in
Dark Knight Returns, yeah.
Dark Knight Returns, the animated movie. You should definitely check that out.
Yeah, well, it's in the comics too.
It's in the comics, yes. The Frank Miller stuff.
yeah.
That's where the pivotal moment of Batman became what we know now as Batman, I feel, from a comic book storytelling standpoint.
Well, that's what brought it back to the dark stuff. Yes.
Correct.
But yeah, so I liked that.
I just, honestly, every scene with Arthur Fleck, how hard he's trying to hold himself together.
Yeah, I liked every
that
time
was
that he
just
tried to like
incredible acting.
shove the laugh down. I thought that was really cool.
Oh my god, yeah, that was brutal because you really feel for him and those kind of things. Like,
Yeah.
that in that scene where he's like, "Please don't disturb my kid" and everything. He hands her that card. I was like,
And
oh
she just
my-
has to sit there with it because she's like, yeah, I can't be an asshole
Yeah.
about this. Like,
yeah, this guy's got a condition and all that kind of stuff. It's
but
great.
then they do that thing where it's like, hey, that card you hand out, is that real? And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, I would have cut that. Like, I like the idea that like you don't call attention to it if you are. If it isn't real, like I would like to not call attention to that and like have that scene because I guess like those flashes he shows, I'm like, well, so is it like is that real? Like is that real or not? Because the way you responded makes me feel like it's not real. Then
right, yeah,
yeah, like I would have just cut those characters. I mean, those are good actors, but I like the detective, whatever the fuck's.
yeah.
I
They
was
didn't
just
really
like,
serve.
is
much
this
of
a thing?
purpose,
Like
to be
what?
perfectly honest.
Because those are great actors.
Yes, they
Like,
are.
And I'm just like, well, I'm glad they don't factor in too much. Cause I'm like, I don't actually want to watch them have to like dodge these cops.
Yep.
Like, this is bullshit. But like, when you see that he just gets away anyway, you're like, kind of like, well, seems like we could have just moved on without these guys.
It does.
But whatever. I think you need to have that somewhat in the background of people are on to him and coming after him, even though
Yes.
it doesn't really affect him.
No, it
He's not that worried about it.
Yep.
At least the audience can be
And
somewhat.
that's what I liked about like the entire time he was on the Murray Franklin show, where he was like, I did something last week that really doesn't even bother me that much. And referring to the killings, I'm like, that was creepy when the way he says it and all that kind of, it was so creepy.
Yeah, he's creepy. He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
some good facial tics, and he did a great job.
Absolutely fantastic.
So yeah, are we gonna rate this thing or what?
Oh God, yes. Who's going first?
You.
9.5, baby.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well done. It's got its
What,
issues.
what would have pushed it into a higher rating for you? Would it be the Zazie Beetz thing, or I don't know.
It's one of those things where I was like, this is good. There's no doubt about it. I just didn't grab me like it grabbed everyone else.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think the stuff that I said about like those inconsistencies, like you definitely helped with the whole him just randomly killing that woman at the end. I'm like, I guess that's a good way to go with it.
Yep.
That he's just like, well, this is what I do now.
Yeah,
But
I feel like that's just like, oh, this is my medicine. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill people randomly.
I think that's a really good read.
Yep.
I'm just making that headcanon, as the kids say these days. But yeah, there was just something about it where I'm like, I don't know. Like and it might have to do with the stuff surrounding like
The mythos
no,
of
Todd Phillips
I
talking
see.
about the movie. But I'm sure I can just forget about that. He seems a little smug when he was talking about this stuff. But
he does seem smug.
But that doesn't really weigh on my feeling about the movie, because I probably would have put it lower if that actually weighed on it. I think, as I said, the emotions it makes you feel are great.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I probably just need to sit with it more before I'm like, oh,
Fair enough.
this is probably more of a quick turnaround for us, because usually we watch the movies Thursday and record Saturday.
Yes.
So we're not doing that this time.
No, we're doing back.
Yeah, it hasn't
within
even
24
been,
hours.
Yeah, it hasn't even been 24 hours.
Yeah, for me, I watched at 10 p.m. Last night.
So like maybe it will get better with time.
Sure.
There's definitely a possibility of that.
The one burning question I have for you before we sign off on this is this movie to you Oscar worthy?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not that not worried about it. I mean,
Fair enough.
I feel like we talked about how good the acting was.
Oh, yeah.
It's at least good enough.
I think it does. I think Phoenix
Best
does
Actor.
does deserve a nom for this. I really do.
If it got nominated for Best Film, I wouldn't be upset.
I mean, they've won a couple of festivals already, Best Film of those festivals. So,
well, yeah, I won Venice.
It won Venice. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, especially for a comic book film to win. Yeah. All right, that is our breakdown of The Joker. Let us know, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you agree? Did we miss something?
We definitely missed something.
We missed a lot.
No.
When we rewatch it, we're going to be like, and more to that.
Yeah.
We'll keep doing stuff like that. So, to our loyal audience, if you guys
please go to thatshelf.com where you can hear other great podcasts such as Bad Game Movies, Black Hole Films. Composers is a new one. That's a good one. They talk about the scores of movies.
Cool.
They recently did Spider-Man 2, Jurassic Park. It was great.
Oh, that's cool.
What an excellent podcast. You should listen to it. Yeah. There's other things like Highly Logical. You know what? It has a great theme song, No Budget Nightmares. So go ahead and...
love that.
Yeah, it's a great theme song. Great. Go ahead and go to thatshelf.com and listen to those podcasts. If you want to hear more episodes from us, because I believe our episodes start at Black Panther, but we did a bunch of stuff before that. Go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten.
Yeah. The Black Panther one was the one that put us in the big times, baby. And then everything before then was just pure passion work. So check it out.
Go there. You'll find my social media, Ben's social media, the social media for TDF Everything, as well as this podcast. It's at TDF Spoiled if you want to get at us on Twitter. And please email spoiledpodcast@gmail.com if you have questions, comments, or concerns. And obviously, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
And especially
Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public, Google Play. What were you saying, Ben?
Definitely email us if you want to hear us mispronounce your name.
Yeah,
because if you haven't noticed that's what we do on this podcast.
We're not good with names.
Not good with pronunciations.
I don't know why I decided to read that Suicide Squad list. It was a horrible idea. I was so gung-ho, and I was like, this is stupid. What am I doing?
You regretted that immediately. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much. Like Dan said, like, subscribe, share, comment. Do what ever you think is going to be good for us.
No, just do what we say. Do it.
Oh, yeah.
Not whatever you think. Whatever we think. Do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm using my force powers on you right now. I'm waving my hand.
Exactly.
Do it.
Excellent.
All right. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.